Okay.
Okay.
Will Rogers, back sometime in his lifetime, before 1935, said there are three types of men. One that learns by reading, a few who learn by observation, the rest of them have to pee on the electric fence for themselves.
And
I would
I'm all three of those.
I would like to think that I can avoid that third choice. Both reading and observation probably require some analysis before or as we learn from them, especially these days with the internet and large language models and AI and fake news. Hopefully, both of those first two of the three choices allow for more efficient and less painful learning experience. Our topic today is affordable health. My bias is that I wanted to find examples where it's cheaper to maintain your health than try and correct it after the fact. I was mixed in my success finding examples for that. There are lots of books and opinion on the subject. Michael Greger's How Not to Age is the fourth in a series that started with How Not to Die, How Not to Diet. Um, I'm blanking on the third one. But there are a number of other books in the same vein. Undo It by Dean and Ann Ornish was published in 2019, and Natural Health, Natural Medicine, The Complete Guide to Wellness and Self-Care for Optimum Health was published by Dr. Andrew Weil in 2004. And if I could do it, I would share the introduction of that particular book with you.
You want me to stop sharing?
Um, I don't see that you've started sharing yet.
Oh, really?
I'm seeing it.
Oh,
Yeah,
are you?
it's up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good. Um, yeah, let me read to you the introduction from Dr. Weil's book, Natural Medicine. This book is a complete guide to preventive health maintenance and also includes suggestions for treating many common ailments on your own with methods that are safe, natural, effective, and not as expensive as standard medical treatments. If you are unfamiliar with the concept of preventive maintenance, I can summarize it for you in a few words. Timely and appropriate investment of energy in your well-being will save a great deal of trouble, pain, and money down the road. Many people understand the value of preventive maintenance in caring for their cars. They get regular oil changes and tune-ups, and they pay attention when a warning light comes on. It is strange that more of us do not apply the same concept to our bodies, which are infinitely more valuable. The most common reason for neglecting preventive maintenance used to be lack of information. Today, there is often too much information, especially from the internet and the media, much of it contradictory and a good deal of it wrong. I have always felt that the main work of doctors should be to educate, to give people the trustworthy information they need to keep themselves healthy most of the time. Prevention of disease should be primary treatment. I'm sorry, should be primary. Treatment, secondary. One of my main motivations in writing this book is to help you avoid the need for treatment. I was exposed to that book, must have been at least 20 years ago. My father was a mechanical engineer who worked for Curtiss-Wright Aeronautical, building airplane engines in World War II. After he worked for Curtiss-Wright for 25 years, he went off and worked for a company selling buffing machines for 10 years. And then he bought a health food store and ran that for 10 years. So I mentioned this particular book because he had a copy of it that I got when he passed away. And I'm sure I read this introduction many years ago. By the way, my father lived to be 98. So something that he did.
You got genes.
I had good genes, yes. But he also paid attention to his diet, his exercise. This is not actually rocket science, although there are some indeed similarities. It is complicated. Okay, if you'd run this video.
Okay. Before I do that, I can't raise my hand or anything while I'm sharing, but our medical establishment is not, especially the pharmaceutical industry, is not even really interested in curing disease. It's interested in alleviating symptoms, but maintaining the disease so that they can sell more drugs.
Let's just say the incentives are not all aligned for the patient.
Right. Okay, I'll start the video now.
This
I
is,
don't see a way how to make this full screen, but I'll see if that stuff. There we go.
there's usually a
And
four
can
corners.
you do closed captions? He's
No
got
such
it.
thing.
Can you
Okay, no comments.
Oh, no, of course I have a comment.
I was just going to say that it was interesting. Summary of the book, interesting speaking style also. But
It's an ad for the book, but but I think a really, really good one. Yeah.
yeah, it was an ad for the book.
Right.
There is no question about that. If it sounded like a sales pitch, it was.
But an intelligent sales pitch,
Oh,
in my humble opinion.
Very educated sales pitch.
There
He
you go.
is actually quite good at what he does.
Yeah, I'm impressed. So, couple of questions. Somehow this is new in 2026. I mean, an
No,
ounce of
no.
prevention equals a pound of cure has been in my family for 30 generations.
It's not at all new.
But
As
I
I
think
say, this is the third book in the three that I was
Right.
talking about, in line pretty well with the one that my father passed along to me from
Yep.
22 years ago.
And he makes a very good point on ounce of prevention equals, in that with modern DNA technology, all that, we have much better tools to know what prevention and, tracking and all that, what prevention might be worth a pound of cure.
Right. There was an article that was pointed out to me. David Bankston was over at the University of Minnesota Wilson Library looking at some of the early Futurists magazine that the World Future Society put out. Minnesota Futurists were the first external member of that organization back in the, I believe, 1967 and 1969 timeframe. At any rate, there was an article in the February Futurists magazine titled, "Our Children May Be the First to Live to 200." A little bit optimistic. And I don't know that no, I didn't send that article. If I can't share it, that's going to be a problem. Well, I have a copy of it. It's fascinating, a bit optimistic. Our children maybe could possibly learn enough to live to be 200. We'll see. Carol?
Yes. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to mention some personal experience that I found interesting for public knowledge of this sort of preventive medicine. My father was a doctor, and he went to medical school on the GI Bill after World War II. And so he came from a time when blood transfusions, for instance, could only be done by the donor lying down on a cot next to the donee. They stick a needle in both of their arms, and they got a little gadget in between where the person is moving the blood along. So, I mean, he comes from a long ago medicine. And somewhere along the line, this was before he retired, and he retired at age 65. He became extremely interested in a person named Cooper, who coined the term aerobics and made all sorts of claims for aerobic exercise being one of the keys to longevity. And I can remember him saying that every cardiologist in the country and half of the other doctors were just waiting for Cooper to drop dead so that they could look at his arteries. No, I mean, this is the absolute truth. And because Cooper was the first person to claim that a serious exercise program could actually clean out your arteries. The medical opinion at the time was that exercise helped, but it only worked to the extent that if you started an exercise program, it would keep your arteries from getting any worse. But the popular medical opinion was definitely, it could not reverse atherosclerosis. Well, it turned out, and Cooper had started this whole aerobics thing because he had a heart attack, and they had to put in shunts, and his arteries were in really bad shape. So, they wanted, Cooper was claiming that if you started a serious exercise program, as he did, after having a heart attack and being told that your arteries were all clogged up, that this exercise could actually reverse the damage, not just prevent future damage. And he turned out to be right.
Yeah.
But it's not just that the medical profession doesn't want you to get better, doesn't want you to practice preventive medicine. As he said, every cardiologist in the country and half of the Jeeps, general practitioners, were just, hanging in there waiting for this guy to die.
Yeah. We often talk about paradigm shifts occurring one death at a time.
Dean,
Mute. Yeah, I just looked up, and I kind of remember when Cooper, 55 years, go to
your sound went off.
Dean, you're muted again for
sorry.
some reason.
Yeah.
And Carol,
Yeah.
your hand is still up.
Oh, I will take it down.
Yeah, I remember as a kid, 55 years ago or more, when aerobics, but aerobics are nothing new. We've been chasing after mastodons for tens of thousands of years, But yeah, and then the other one was isometric. You remember that? You don't need a gym. You just put your hands on the doorway and isometric. No?
Yes,
I've heard of it, but
versus
It's
isotonic.
resistance versus motion, but it doesn't do much for your joints. But yeah, and I have also heard that there is some reversal, but you every single snake oil big pharma I see, well, this will help you lose weight when combined with diet and exercise.
yes.
Always they put that disclaimer in there. Diet and exercise. So you start with that, and then you add the pharmaceuticals if it can't be done with that, right?
It's complicated.
Yeah.
Yep.
But diet and exercise never hurt anyone, as far as I know, unless they're on a bogus diet.
One of my points that I wanted to mention is moderation. There probably is a sweet spot. They talk about in electronics a bathtub curve where you have early failures and then you have a long period of time for electronics when you don't have a lot of failures. And then you have electronics aging out and failures again at the other side of the bathtub curve. It turns out that you are in real trouble if you don't get enough water. Hydration is a big deal. If you don't have enough, there are problems. You can also have too much. So it's again a similar sweet spot. Moderation. The question is, where in that moderation do you need to be? Similarly with blood pressure. We've known for 100 years that blood pressure is a big deal regarding health, particularly heart health. Too low is a problem. You don't get enough oxygen to your cells. Too high has all sorts of other problems. Where is the sweet spot? Where is the moderate wisdom, if you will? It's complicated. And genetics is a factor. He pointed out that it's something like 25% based on twin studies of twins who were separated at birth and raised in different environments.
Wait. I read that as, you mean only 25% of your health?
It's somewhere between 25 and 50%.
I'll be
And
darned.
I
Yeah.
have not heard numbers outside that range, but that's a huge range.
Yeah.
And that's genetics. Epigenetics is the modification of your genetics based on your environment.
Right. Which we
That's
are finding more and more about.
also a
Yep.
huge factor.
Yep.
But that's where diet and exercise comes in.
Yep.
I was impressed with his book, which I got a copy of out of the library, and basically was planning to use his second section, the optimal anti-aging regime, as the outline for my presentation this morning. He goes through diet, basically one of his videos is food as medicine. Typically, most people do not have massive side effects to eating certain foods. But we all know examples of people who are allergic to dairy or allergic to wheat or allergic to eggs. So
Or
there are,
seafood.
again, there are some, you can take it too far. Carol, you had something again to say?
Yeah, back to the water and hydration issue. Most people don't know this, that if you drank nothing but distilled water, you would die.
Right.
It is just as dangerous to try to live on distilled water as it is to try to live on salt water.
Yep.
Distilled water doesn't have any minerals in it, supposedly, or
And RO water,
wildly lower amounts of minerals.
RO water is virtually distilled water. And I've done RO
No,
for 50.
no.
Well, it
RO
is much
water is
lower.
in distilled minerals, absolutely.
Right.
It has other challenges in the body because, yes, let's not get into that. That's a,
It's not, we'll do another topic on water. Yeah.
oh, Gad, could we? Tom?
I just want to say that when you're talking about food, you can't really generalize very well because, for example, American milk is different from European milk. Some of the amino acids are a little different. Our milk is less digestible. It's also probably got that growth hormone in it. So, and grains. Lots of our grains have glycophosphates in them from all the herbicides that are used on the crops. So they're not healthy for you, whereas in Europe, they could be healthy for you. So generalizing diet often depends, what's good for you depends on where you are, where you get your food.
Yep. It's complicated.
It,
We know there's this same sort of sweet spot in sleep. You can have too little, you can have too much, somewhere in the middle, and it varies for individuals. Exercise is complicated. Tom, if you look down in my list, Gregor has a video. Does diet exercise extend your lifespan or just your health span?
Oh,
If
Oh,
you would play that one,
I had pulled up the next one, why prevention is worth a ton of cure. You don't want that
well,
one?
go ahead, play that one. We'll get to the other one and hopefully before we get done today.
Well, okay. I think it's only like 5 minutes long.
A lot of his videos are only 5 minutes long. There's a lot to say that he does well. I would like to show you one of the criticisms of his program before we get done today also. But I was very impressed with the well, this next video, why prevention is worth a ton of cure. As I say, my bias is that I think you can maintain health a lot more cheaply than you can fix it after you've lost that sweet spot, if you will.
It,
The amazing thing to me is that our bodies can take a single cell, a fertilized egg, and create the complexity that is us in 30 years with thousands of different kinds of very complicated cellular interactions.
okay. Tom?
My bias is that I was looking for videos that would support that bias. This one actually sounded good and had a little different take.
yeah. I'm waiting to see myself. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. And the even saying the sentence, does the U.S. have the best medical health in the world? We're a second world country when it comes to healthcare. And he also pointed out that hundreds of what they call them, considered safe and effective things that we use.
Grass list.
Yeah, thank you. In Europe, it's like 1/10 or 1/5 of what we allow here, because we love big pharma, we love DuPont, we love chemicals, we love all of that, and in Europe, they love being healthy.
Yeah.
You are what you eat.
Certainly, some of the cures that have been around a long time, like aspirin, would be patented if they could do that. Tom?
One of my sons, a number of years ago, when he was when he had a different job, got injured on the job and had to go to the hospital. And at the hospital, he got MRSA, MRSA, that kind of incurable infection disease. It took a long, long time for them to clear that up. But yeah, hospitals are dangerous places. Did you ever see the movie Hospitals, starring George C. Scott, I believe it was? Yeah,
Yes.
to a large extent, that's true. What was in that hospital? That's all. Hospitals can be dangerous places.
Yeah, it's where you go to get sick, and even doctors' offices. Yeah, well, since we're doing a bit of anecdotal, when I came back from Vietnam, I got a pilonidal cyst, the most common injury to young soldiers and Marines and sailors, right? Only men get them, women don't. Well, rarely do women get them. Anyway, so I was getting ready to get out, and they go, oh, I can't sit down, my butt hurts, yada yada. All right, we're gonna fix you. And they brought me into a ward with 4 other patients who were getting the same surgery, and it was like assembly line, and they're all. And anyway, on the operating table, I caught mononucleosis from one of the corpsmen/nurses, whatever, because everybody else was getting better. I was having 104 fever and waking up with, night sweats, and they would, I was sick for months, almost 18 months. They held me in the Marine Corps for 6 months, sent me down to Balboa Hospital in San Diego so I could be near my wife. And it was the most miserable time in my life. And that was all due to who knows what. Somebody had mono in that, and they admitted it. You can't sue the Navy Medical Corps, And it was, I caught that disease on the operating table. No doubt about it.
This one supported my contention that it's complicated.
So it's hard to control studies properly when you're dealing with humans.
Yes. It's difficult and it's expensive. And we haven't dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's yet. Dean?
Yeah, and it takes time. Those kind of studies take time. They take a lifetime.
Yeah,
Carol,
humans are a lot slower to study than yeast, for
right.
example.
And Carol, real quick, what was that term for? In other words, as your genes get modified in real time, based on
Epigenetic.
That's
Epigenetic?
epigenetics. Gotcha. Thank you.
It's not based only on your experience. It could be based on your parents' experience and passed down genetically.
Oh yeah. No, they have cited that in the Sherpa studies and whatnot. Right. When you are adapted to altitude, your children are likely to be born adapted to altitude. That's an absolute fact. They have done studies.
How do you take a child in the womb out of the altitude if the mother's in the altitude? That's not inherited. That's womb training.
No. So these are guys that moved to Colorado and lived at 14,000 feet, right? And got totally adapted to that. They could go for months, years. They'd go back to altitude. They'd be acclimatized in 15 minutes. I did that in skiing in with my sister in Colorado. We got where altitude doesn't bother us. Anyway, they found that then these.
You just froze.
Yep.
And their kids, the kids that they produced, had a built-in adaptation. In other words, when they got at altitude, they would create the red blood cells they needed much quicker than a flatlander. It's been proven. Google it. Yep. So our genes get modified all the time in subtle little ways.
Carol?
Yes, I have read in what seem to be good studies that there are actually 2 different genetic modifications that enable humans to live and function well at higher altitudes. One of these mutations shows up in Tibet amongst the people who become Sherpas. The other genetic mutation.
But wait, Carol, is that because of years of they didn't move to Tibet? You know, in other words, was that acquired, or did they move there and survive there because they
No,
already had that mutation?
they have actually traced the gene mechanisms.
Yeah, I think I heard that too. Mm-hmm.
And then there is another human, what am I trying to say? Genetic mutation that occurs amongst the people who live in the Andes, you know, across the ocean.
In Peru, yep, absolutely.
And it does the same thing for them, but it is a different gene structure.
Ah, there's more than one way to skin a rabbit.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
I hate that term. No, it's and you know, when you said mutant, we are all mutants, for Christ's sake. The only reason all animals and plants are mutants because something mutated and that adapted better, and then that mutation became the norm.
Yeah, and this is actually both of them are fairly recent mutations in the human genome.
Tom has his hand up.
What I got from the video was that exercise may not really help if you're a healthy person. Was that basically the gist of it?
Well, more than that,
I was
we're
asking David.
genetically disposed to longevity. The exercise was just sort of a little bit of icing on the cake. That's what I got out of it.
I would like to put that off just a little bit, if you wouldn't mind,
Sure.
Tom. If you look at my list of links, right after that particular link, there's a link to a website in Toronto, I think. That's a criticism of Michael Greger.
The one about nutrition facts or what?
No. www.mcgill.canada should be right after the page break on that doc of videos. After does exercise.
Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah.
Can you pull that up and share it?
Okay. For some reason, that didn't get highlighted and underlined.
Nope. It's not a video.
Oh, it's an article?
You have to copy it and paste it into a tab on your browser.
That's the way I normally do it.
Thank you.
That one?
Yep, that one's the one.
Okay, so do you want me to just scroll down it or what?
Basically.
Okay, who's Dr. Michael Greger?
Dr. Michael Greger is the author of How Not to Age. And he's
Okay. That's the guy who's been narrating these other things.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
So
he's basically the article, the criticism of him suggests that he has a bias in favor of vegan food and that he cherry picks his data. And he also brags on the fact that he donates all of his book proceeds to charity without mentioning that half of them go directly to his charity that pays him a salary of a couple $100,000 a year. So he's rather careful about his appearances. And he has this charity that hires a dozen people and puts out these rather professional looking, very fast, short videos that are quite persuasive as far as they go. He points out that Gregor seems to be pretty accurate about his multiple links supporting his opinions on vaccines, but that he cherry picks his data regarding vegan diet. Carol?
Yeah, you also have to worry about dumping data together that doesn't belong together. Because, okay, the studies that began with Dr. Cooper's autopsy that all the cardiologists were waiting for tended to indicate that this effect was gotten only with aerobic exercise. In other words, you could be a weightlifter and, you know, be doing hundreds of repetitions of lifting weights, that type of thing, and it isn't going to do your arteries any good. But too many of these articles dump both kinds of exercise together.
The details will absolutely get you. There's no question. I've been looking, Dean, it sounds like you're trying to say something, but you're muted.
No, I think he's probably talking to someone else.
Okay, fine. I'm concerned about my blood pressure because blood pressure is well correlated with heart disease. But it's not trivial just to measure your blood pressure.
Yeah.
And it varies during the day depending on your exercise.
Right, how you hold
And
your arm and all sorts of things, how you sit.
exactly. So what really is critical is how your blood pressure varies during the day, similarly to how your glucose levels vary in your bloodstream for diabetes. And we have learned a lot in the last 20 years when we have had sensors that could monitor continuously rather than depending on instantaneous spot checks, if you will, what it is at the moment. The whole question of glycemic index with food and your blood sugar levels, different bodies react differently depending on not only your genetics, but also your epigenetics. It's very much not simple.
So this article accuses him of chemophobia.
Well, it accuses him of a number of things. It accuses him of cherry picking his data. It accuses him of selling vegan diets rather than reporting on them. It throws into question a bit his well, his objectivity, I guess you'd have to say. Certainly, How Not to Age attempts to do everything possible without giving you a really good idea of which ones are the most important, the most critical.
I'm
And
wondering,
the studies have not yet been done on humans that distinguish yeah.
do you know the orientation of this McGill? I assume that's McGill University Office for Science and Society. Are they in bed with the pharmaceutical industry or anything like that? Like Harvard is?
No, I don't know that. Um,
Yeah, what was the name? I'm wikiing it right now. McGill Center for making lots of money, or what was it?
Office for Science and Society.
if you quote Dr. Michael Greger's bias and put that into Google search, I think you can find this particular article, this particular website.
Well, if you look for bias, you'll find people or articles that will accuse someone of bias.
Right.
Yeah,
I
AI
have
gives you what you want.
So you've got to find out what the bias of the accusers is.
absolutely. And I told you at the beginning of this presentation that I was looking for certain kinds of articles. And I found some from Dr. Michael Greger. And in fact, his whole book advocates for significant impact due to food and exercise and sleep and stress, all of which he says can impact your health. And I'm sure in some cases that's true. Whether it's true in all cases seems to be open to question. Bring data. And the data that would motivate you to modify your own lifestyle is your own data. My wife and I have been attempting to see if we could tell whether modifying our diet and eating window, which is to say fasting, modifies our data in any fashion that we can detect. And I'll tell you, it's complicated. Dean?
Yeah, I just wikied. He's a vegan, PETA, blah blah blah. Doesn't believe we have any right to eat animal protein whatsoever. Big critic of Atkins. But I'm telling you, if I ate like this guy wants me to eat, I would have been dead years ago. I cannot.
Well,
I cannot eat a high carb diet. I just cannot.
and so
And
that's
so,
exactly what I'm talking about. You need to run your own studies of the way your body acts
yep.
and see what works for you.
And I've been doing that for 50, 60 years. And yeah, no, exactly. I we are not 2003 Honda CRVs. There is no manual for the human body. Every
Well,
single human body
actually,
is a one-off.
lots of different doctors are writing those manuals as we speak.
Individual manuals for you, right?
Um,
Well, it has to be based on
no,
you and your genetics.
back up a step.
Okay.
What's important for you? The future of medicine at this point is clearly likely to be more successful if it's individualized rather
Correct.
than broad spectrum for everyone.
Correct.
Because we know one of Dr. Greger's discussions of blood pressure talks about a study that was done in a hospital in Kenya, I believe, back 20, no, back 50 years ago,
Yeah.
when the typical diet in Kenya was all was very thin on meat eating.
Hmm.
And it turned out that the normal blood pressure in that population was all below 110 over 80,
But,
120
but,
over 80.
but, is that because over millennia they have been adapted to the food that was available?
Probably.
Of course, a lot of it has to do with
But
that.
also, of the 2,000 examples they looked at of people who had checked into that hospital over the 50 years before that, when they looked at the age compared to the blood pressure did not increase with age. And also,
And that
they
can also
had,
be genetic. It can be.
would you let me finish, please?
Yes.
They had no examples of people who died from heart disease in that population. The blood pressure of that population stayed normal with age. Dean?
Yeah, but I know I've read exactly the same stuff, and I actually considered becoming vegan, vegetarian, and all that. But you see, how much of that is genetics? How much of that is their adaptation to the food? In other words, the people that lived long and prospered and had kids when they're 85 years old were the people that were able to live and procreate. You see what I mean? It's very
Yeah,
hard to separate it.
it is absolutely very hard to separate.
Yep.
But it is also quite clear, not from Greger's book, but from a different one,
Holy,
Undo It
holy, I just love it.
by Dean Ornish,
Yep.
that you can avoid health disease. It's not clear that you can cure arterial clogs, by changing your diet and exercise, but you can avoid that one form of heart disease with a particular program that he recommended back 20 years ago.
Am I wasting time that you have more stuff to show?
Yeah,
No,
there's several other things on the list.
there's a few other things on the list, and we could spend a week just going through the information that Dean Ornish has put on the web to publish his approach. He definitely benefits by his books and lectures. I did not use one of his 1 hour videos where he stands up and tells you his approach, basically sells you on buying How Not to Age.
Yep.
It's worth looking at.
Right. And by the way, PBS, which does a lot of these kind of things, they have their professional snake oil guys who are brilliant guys. But they're all uber rich off selling their books and their videos and their whatever. But that's not to say they do not have really, really, really good information.
Yeah. And he's looked at thousands of different studies and attempted to give us his evaluation of which ones are the best ones.
I was blown away by his reciting his number of citations in his books. Right.
Yeah. And you can go look at all of those citations. In fact, he encourages you to do that.
Yep.
But it's worth stepping back and asking, does his program work? Could his program work for you?
Yep.
And the criticism from McGill suggests that this is not an easy program to adopt.
Yeah. Is it economically feasible?
Well,
I have
actually,
a
in
vegan friend
general,
who
it
weighs
is.
250 pounds, and she's vegan because all she does is eat Fritos and crap all day,
Well,
which are
yeah,
vegan.
there is little question that fast food,
Junk
as
food.
we do it in the United States, leads us to be overweight.
Well, ultra processed food also.
Ultra processed food,
and
fast food.
And Kennedy, yeah, and Kennedy, he is correct on his war on ultra processed food. It should be forbidden like leaded gasoline.
Well,
or restricted.
There was a very interesting video that I found that at some point I will probably use, and maybe the thing to do is to plan it around. We need a presentation next week that I'm hoping Tom Trites will do, and we need a presentation for the week after that. And then I have people who are scheduled on for a couple of months. Most of the rest of the next 2 months anyway. But the video that I saw talked about the principle in biology design, and the other one is intelligent design is the religious argument, but biology at this point is more based on Darwin's principle.
Yeah, well, intelligent design is a biblical way of trying to wrap your brain around evolution, right?
Evolution was the word I was looking for. Thank you. And evolutionary biology has some interesting things to say about individual variation.
Yep.
Um,
Well,
but that's we're not going to be able to address that even inadequately in 20 minutes.
yeah, I know.
So let's not go there.
Yeah, and there are
Yeah.
good cars and bad cars, right? You get a Ford made on a Monday or a Friday, and back in the old days, it may have been bad. You see what I mean? I mean, it's the same car, the same parts, the same
Yep.
engineering, and luck of the draw.
Well,
Back to this article. Basically, it
if you look at the last
blames
section.
Grigger of basically cherry picking data and having bias.
Yep. And I'm impressed with never trust a single source.
Me too.
And Gregor is very good at trying to check all of the boxes. His book includes everything and almost the kitchen sink in this arena. And he's basically trying to persuade you by showing you 1,300 scientific studies that he is a doctor and he knows how to evaluate those studies better than you do.
Yeah.
I was persuaded by the book and that approach until I read the critique.
Right.
It
On
can
the
be
other-
done well, it can be done fair, and it can be done poorly. And most of the critique applies very well, in my opinion, so which throws Gregor's opinion into question.
Yeah, one of the things this critique cites is his Gregor's he references 4 articles about the efficacy of saffron.
Yeah.
2 of them were produced in Iran, which is the world's largest producer of saffron. You know, things like that.
It's hard to dig out from reading How Not to Age whether any of them make a major impact and what a major impact looks like. So in that sense, the critique is quite correct.
Yes, he critiques meat, but leaves out problems you can have with vegetables.
Exactly.
Contamination of vegetables, that kind of thing. So
Right.
Yep.
So moderation is really important, even in our analysis of these specifics. If you look at the last paragraph of that, Tom,
here,
nope, a little more. The highlighted yellow
Yep.
takeaway. He advocates for a plant food diet, answers questions that pertain to nutrition through his nonprofit, nutritionfact.org. If you can pick up that website and share that after I get done reading the rest of this paragraph, that's the next thing I'd like to look at. While some of the information he puts forward is backed by good scientific evidence, he regularly demonizes synthetic compounds, exaggerates the dangers posed by eating or handling meat, and is uncritical of inadequate studies alleging all sorts of benefits for plant-based compounds. It's complicated, in other words. And Dr. Greger may not be the best source of the best information, but he certainly is an excellent source of various competing studies.
Yep.
Yeah.
And his videos are worth looking at just to see a well-articulated, persuasive argument regarding the particular 5-minute video that he has available. And there are a lot of them. We could easily spend one session a month looking just at some of his videos. I think it probably is not as appropriate as I thought it was when I picked the book as a topic for today's discussion.
It's still interesting.
Dean?
Food for thought. It's definitely food for thought.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether
But
whether he is overselling medicine's capacity, I thought it was useful to hear some of his statistics, particularly the one about if doctors told you how much effect this medicine could have and what the common side effects are, would you actually take that medicine?
listen, I watch TV and I watch old people's TV. So 80% of the ads are big
drug.
pharma snake oil, and every one of them, and I'll go, oh, okay, this could save my life. Jesus, the side effects are death. And I go, really? Can I live without this? And yeah, let me get into studies and all that. JAMA, Journal of the American Medical Association, right? It's published articles that have been later completely debunked.
Retracted.
Retracted.
Absolutely.
I apologize. We effed up our study.
Well,
but getting published in JAMA
misinformation.
is how you make a living if you're in that field.
Absolutely. And another issue that would be worth talking about has to do with the federal government in the United States supporting research and development.
Oh, Jesus, don't get me going, please.
Well,
Can we
I
go
think-
to full screen? Are we done
Um,
for now with the sharing?
for right now, we're done with this one. I would like to share with you
All right.
Dr. Greger's website, if Tom can pull it up and
Okay.
share it.
I just wanted to.
And I have to type it in my browser, or I can cut and paste it. I
Yeah,
can't
you
cut
can-
and paste. I can cut and paste out of the files you sent me, David, and thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to show you this one thing. Nutrition Facts, his nonprofit, used to be called Vegan Research Institute.
Yes.
Ah. And I'm certain that vegan is a really healthy lifestyle for a subgroup of people. I have noticed that I'm a committed carnivore, I always like to say, but I like all food. But as I get older, meat, especially red meat, is becoming a condiment, not a main dish.
And that's,
David, what was the video you wanted me to show?
oh no, I would like you to bring up Dr. Greger's website and share that.
Oh, okay.
Doug?
What's the name of their website? The Nutrition Facts?
Yeah. .org.
.org.
David, the only question I had is, I just checked, and the healthiest populations in the world are Singapore, Japan, Spain, Italy, and Norway. I mean, there must be something going on there in their, you know, living habits and everything. I mean, this thing takes into consideration, the food they eat, but, pollution and all that other stuff. Did you ever look at it from that angle?
Oh yeah. Um, one of the uh, there's a book called The Blue Zones
Yes. Yes.
where and I believe it was actually written by a Minnesotan, and I'm blanking on his name, but Butner or something like that, talks about people who live to be 100
Yep.
in 4 different areas of the world.
I thought it was 5.
5 different areas of the world, sorry. And many of them do not eat a lot of meat and are active into their old age. And one of the characteristics in that discussion, and in my interest in health span rather than lifespan, is that people in those areas tend to live full active lives almost to the end of their life and then die quickly. And I think that makes a whole lot better sense than the American way of dying, where we live till we have to go into a hospital or a nursing home, and then we live as long as until the money runs out.
Yeah, it makes sense for the individual and for the country, really.
Yeah.
The economy.
That's my opinion. Carol?
Yeah, David, have you seen any studies about, okay, there is a fairly recent mutation in the human genome that allows some people to digest milk in adulthood. And
It has to do with
they
blood
have
type.
what?
Blood type. AAB. It has a great deal to do with blood type. Yes, it does.
Okay.
Lactose intolerance.
Well, see, all the mammals on Earth are lactose intolerant. There isn't a single other mammal that
Drinks milk past weaning, correct.
into adulthood. And the reason I find this so interesting is that this mutation arose and it just wham,
Yes.
it ran through great swaths of the
Northern European.
yes,
Yep.
of that population.
Genetic.
Because they needed it for nutrition, because they couldn't grow plants year round the way many other areas could.
Right.
There's no question that evolutionary biology has some interesting things to say about genes like that. And I'm not certainly an expert on any of this. So it's not my area of expertise. Can I tell you answer questions like that? Probably not.
Do you know of any studies that have been done comparing the two populations?
Oh, absolutely. There are comparative studies of population. I'm not sure which two you're referring to, though.
The lactose intolerant humans versus lactose snarfing humans.
What I've understand from evolutionary biology, one video that I saw that I will try and find again and provide for this group to talk about at some point, because I thought it was fascinating, suggested that when a particular mutation spread through a whole population very rapidly, it provided a useful, helpful survival trait. And that often that happened in cases where a small population of humans made it through an environmental challenge
Like an
Yep.
ice age.
Yep.
where
Yep.
a very small population survived because of some factor, like a mutation that allowed digestion of milk, and the population that was able to, through milking reindeer or milking cattle or whatever, augment their diet enough that they survived. That's what they point to in terms of why a mutation like that will spread through the whole population.
But
Because the total population that survived was very small and only included that particular. So the whole issue of genetic diversity and genetic spread, if you will, genetic survivors, is a topic that's fascinating and could easily make a presentation of its own. As I say, if I can find that video again, I will bring it back to you at some point.
Okay, we have less than 10 minutes.
all right, Carol, you still have your hand up, but you've had it up the whole meeting. So
No, that is not true, Dan.
It's
But
also like
I'm
your
being
case,
facetious.
Dean.
Come on,
You
guys.
put it
all
up and
right, there we
take
go.
it.
Yeah.
Your turn.
But all right, thank you. But you see, you can't equate short-term, in quotes, survival of an ice age or drying or whatever, and to be able to live to be 15 and procreate the next people, right? You cannot equate with that. You cannot equate that with long-term. Finish my sentence. You see what I mean? I mean, what is so a mutation that came about with a short-term climactic change or climatic is not. That's just what kept Homo sapiens going, and Neanderthals, and the others. And that does not necessarily mean it means you can survive to have more kids. It doesn't mean that you can survive to be 99 like my dad.
Yeah.
I think
It's also true that historically, in Northern European populations, there have been times where the average age at menarche is 17.
Well, average, that takes into
Right.
80%,
Whereas nowadays,
80% infant death, which was common. 60%,
in
40%.
our current population in America here, the average age at menarche is down under 12.
Yeah.
And
Let me give you an
diet is a
example.
big factor in that.
yes,
Let me give you an example. Sickle cell anemia in Black Africans was an
Dean,
amazing adaptation.
yeah.
let's
ahead,
not go
David.
there. That's true. Let's not get into genetics, please.
okay.
Well,
I
how can
would
we
like-
not if we're
I-
talking about
Dean,
longevity?
Dean, we cannot because we have 5 minutes left, and I would like to summarize this discussion.
Gotcha.
But I would also like, before we leave the shared screen, Tom, can you pull up about, I believe, as one of the menu on the top says about nutritionfacts.org?
Yep.
Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Who we are, maybe, is that one of the choices? I can't read it very well on on the screen.
Who we are,
Yeah, that,
our values.
oh no. At one point, there's one of his pages shows a picture of all of the people who are part of nutritionfacts.org,
Oh,
his
you want
organization.
that should be in About Us, I would think.
That's what I thought, but I didn't.
You would think.
Let me see.
I know I saw it.
Well, I'll try that page again.
No, it's a page from that head. It's one of the menu choices under nutritionfacts.org.
Get to the top menu if you can.
Mm.
And I pulled it up on my phone in a completely different app. Completely different.
I'm sorry.
I'll try this
on
one.
about
You want Meet the Team? Is
meet
that
the
what you want?
team. Yes.
Okay. There's Gregor.
Yep.
Did you
If
want
you
to
look, and then there's nine pictures below him.
Well,
and
there's more than that.
of 12, I think.
Yeah.
And if you look at those faces, does anything strike you in particular?
Mostly young, mostly female.
Yep. And none of them get any credit on the website, except this one video, one web page. Sorry. And that's about all I want to say about Dr. Gregor and his organization. You can stop sharing if you would.
Okay.
Yeah, there are 2 white males on there, and only one is old.
Yep. Well, except Dr. Gregor, who's 50 or
Yeah.
50, somewhere in
He's
there.
not on that page.
Anyway,
I also saw very few whose role was ascribed to being a researcher.
right.
They were
His-
influencers probably in today's world.
in today's world, I would say that he is making his money as an influencer
Mhm.
rather than as a researcher.
And has an army of influencers. Just like
Okay.
Thomas Alva Edison had an army of brilliant engineers and technicians. Does that make him smart? Yes, it does, right?
Yeah.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk is smart.
He's much more affluent than I am.
Yeah.
I don't expect to compete with him. But it does raise a few questions. And certainly you have to say that in our society, we don't lose 50% of the live births to disease before the age of 5. 100 years ago, that was a different world. Even 50 years ago, we had polio and smallpox and a number of other diseases that modern medicine has essentially eliminated, almost,
Now
largely because of successful vaccines.
Yeah, and there's the rub. Because we are pivoting away from vaccines.
Well, we are pivoting away in the United States from respect for science.
Yep.
For
Fake
sure.
news is essentially saying my opinion matters as much as yours. And as a trained engineer, as a degreed scientist, I have a problem with that approach.
Yep.
There is little question in my mind that diet and exercise has been known for ages to have a significant impact on health. I am of the opinion that we have free will and can change our habits. I am convinced by Ornish's book that if we wish to avoid heart disease, that is a choice we can make. It may not mean totally avoiding meat or fish,
What
but
was
that
Ornish's?
is one of the ways that science has shown to minimize some of the problems. I think Ornish has not done a good job of telling you which changes make the most difference. I'm not sure that Sinclair and Longo have done a good job of telling you how this is going to develop in the future. As a futurist, I have an article from 1969 suggesting that our children may live to be 100. Well, that was a little bit optimistic. We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're regressing.
In terms of public health, that's absolutely true.
No,
But
we've hit the peak age. Yep. Right now.
We can do better by choice in terms of health span. That's the takeaway I would like you to take from this presentation. But it's not easy and it's not trivial to figure out which the big factors are and how big they really are for you. Thanks for coming. I'm sorry it wasn't smoother.
That's okay.
Hey,
No,
thank you for a very
it was great.
stimulating.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, David.
David, do you have Dr. Dean Ornish has published a number of books about cooking and
Yep.
heart disease and all sorts of things. Is there one in particular you were recommending?
Yeah, Undo It.
Undo It.